is a presentation of Fox Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are Florida.
5 no-hitters in Marlins history. 2 outs in the ninth. 0-2 pitch. He moved. Reunion to the first, a no-hitter for Edinson Volquez. It is by far the best setting in Major League Baseball, and that is PNC Park in beautiful Pittsburgh. And a gorgeous night tonight on a busy sports night in the Bird tonight. Yeah, Star Wars and Roberto Clemente, somehow they go together tonight. Hi, everybody. Rich Waltz along with Todd Hollinsworth. Welcome to Pittsburgh. Both these teams worked late into the night in different cities, so they open this 4-game series, and it's Edinson Volquez who takes them out for the first time since that magical day and the no-hitter in Miami.
Everybody believes history's a possibility tonight, and it certainly is, right? The last time the no-no's throwing the ball as well as he's thrown it all season. Certainly excited for tonight. Guess what? Great numbers against the Pirates in his career. Great numbers in this ballpark.
And of course, Volquez turning his ankle at the start of the no-hitter. That was the first out he recorded. The question was, could he stay in the game? They couldn't get him out of the game after that. 98 pitches, punched out 10, and the 6th no-hitter in Marlins history. And he returns to Pittsburgh. You noted his numbers against the Pirates. It was with the Pirates where he kind of turned his career around.
Well, and that's why there should be good vibes in this building tonight. Again, feeling so good. He's been punching out, throwing out great quality starts time and time again, and you see the no-no absolutely on his game. Now, this Pirates offense has been good, so he's going to have to be good again tonight against an offense that's feeling pretty good about itself.
Miami's offense gets the Pirates ace. Garrett Cole has had trouble keeping the ball in the ballpark, but still, you know he's got it in him.
Oh, he certainly does. He's the ace around here. I know that maybe that's been a little bit debatable over the last couple of years, but he has taken the ball quite often in big games for them. 8 home runs allowed in his last 3, though.
As you hear behind us, the Stormtroopers are marching in. The Pirates and the Marlins are ready to go at the confluence. Beautiful PNC Park. Great to be here tonight. First of 4, Marlins and Pirates. Sports Florida is brought to you by Jeep. Get great deals on the Jeep lineup at the Jeep Spring Clearance event. By your local Toyota dealers. Let's go places. And by Southwest, transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. Star Wars nights. Some Rolling Stones to get us ready here. Come on over the Clemente Bridge and stop into PNC Park. Southwest presents Miami's lineup. D. Gordon in the leadoff spot. Giancarlo Stanton still slotted second. Christian Yelich, great against Cole, good against the Pirates. Marcell Ozuna homered last night. So did JT Realmuto. Derek Dietrich at third. Tyler Moore had a big hit at Wrigley Field in the win last night. JT Riddle hits eighth, and Edinson Volquez hits ninth. D. Gordon in the box. And a first pitch fastball from Garrett Cole is fouled off for strike one.
Well, there's Garrett Cole's numbers. 3-5 on the season. 4.27 ERA. The last three starts have been nightmarish.
Gorgeous bunt. Gordon's got himself a hit. Beautifully done. David Freese at third had to come and field it. This is a very good infield to bunt on because the grass is central cut as in National League Central, very plush and thick.
Yep, it catches this ball and it just dies on the grass, forces Freese all the way in, almost picks it up as it stops. And give you another look at those numbers. 4.27 ERA, 71 2/3 innings, 16 walks. That's very good. 15 home runs, not good. In fact, horrible. Garrett Cole will tell you himself. 8 home runs allowed in his last 3 starts. He has really been scuffling. And D. Gordon bunting right there, could get him off his game.
So here's Stanton now. Goes after a fastball and fouls it back. Stanton and the Marlins didn't see Cole when the Pirates came through Miami, and the Pirates were playing well at the time. They took 2 of 3 from the Fish. That's when Miami's spiral in that 25-game run in which they lost 20 was just starting to happen. But the Marlins have won 8 of 11. Stanton cuts at 97, and it's 0-2. He's got pretty good numbers against Cole. A home run, 3 hits in 8 at-bats.
Well, half your lineup tonight for the Marlins has good numbers against Garrett Cole. You see Stanton, Realmuto, crazy good numbers. Gordon, 5 for 13, now 6 for 14.
Slider is away, and the count 1-2. Giancarlo's hit streak snapped last night. And of course, the Marlins beating the Cubs, hanging on at Wrigley, while the Pirates could not hang on to a lead at Camden Yards.
Now they're dealing with bullpen issues as we speak here in Pittsburgh with this Pirates team. A lot of good things starting to turn for them.
Gordon runs, had a good jump, and Stanton fouls it back.
But it is not the bullpen. The bullpen is an issue for the Pirates right now. Let's check out this Pirates defense for tonight's ball game. Here you go. Adam Frazier gets the start in left field. Andrew McCutchen back home in center. Polanco over in right. Freese, Mercer, Josh Harrison, John Jaso, Elias Diaz, and Garrett Cole on the mound.
Gordon had a good jump. See if he's running again. Cole does not hold runners well. Long wait. And to the plate with a slider. And it's 2-2. It's been interesting to watch the dynamics with Gordon at first and Stanton in the 2 spot. Gordon has picked his spots, but he continues to run.
Well, I think running's actually gotten a little easier with Giancarlo Stanton. They're paying more attention, especially on pitches in which they want to throw the breaking balls, but typically they're throwing over to first a couple times before they do it.
27 of 30 are base stealers over the last 2 years against Cole. And Stanton right now with a count 2-2. Crowd still settling in. Big sports night here. Game 5 Stanley Cup Finals just across the river in the paint can, as they call it. Gordon back. Don Mattingly and the Fish opening a 4-game series here. See if he's running 2-2. He runs. Stanton takes a ball. The throw is high into center. Gordon pops right up, races into third base, and Miami is set up with D. Gordon at third, nobody out, and a 3-2 count to Stanton. And the young catcher, Elias Diaz, airmailed that one.
Well, Diaz tried to make up for the slow move to the plate. Watch D. Gordon here, gets a couple steps, maybe not his best jump, but again, this throw well over Josh Harrison's head. Andrew McCutchen a little late getting to that ball. Gave D. Gordon a real good opportunity to pop up and get over to third base.
Stanton takes outside. Cole trying to get him to chase, and he does not. And that's a good sign for the Fish. Stanton has had a real nice 3 weeks to a month of identifying those pitches.
Now, right now, Cole is searching. Last 3 starts have been nightmarish for him. That fastball, you see the velocity already, but he's hesitating to throw that fastball right there. Wanted to go to the slider with Stanton up.
Now, and the Marlins get a guy who has hit Cole quite well, and that's Yelich. 3 homers in 14 at bats, 7 hits total. So he climbs in with Stanton and Gordon on the corners. Infield back for 2. .95-mile-an-hour fastball. Here's the matchup. First career home run long ago.
How about that little backup slider right there?
That
is a fastball.
A young Yelly. He's hit him all over this yard.
Yes.
Fastball in. A ball and a strike. You got 2 Southern California guys as well. Yelich has, look at this. The major league average is 50%. With a runner at third and less than 2 outs of getting him in. Yelich 93% of the time. And he'll add to it with a rip down a right field line. Stanton around second, on his way to third. Yelich is not stopping. He pulls in at second. And his numbers against Cole climb with an RBI double.
Now picks on a slider out over the plate. Almost like he's sitting on this slider. Watch his swing. Front foot down. Clears that front hip. Drives it into the right field corner. No shot right there by Jaso. Blanco playing him the other way. Really sets up this inning. Now runners on second and third. Marlins already on the board with a run scored.
And now Ozuna. And that Pittsburgh defense is back. So a ground ball will score a run. Ozuna homering yesterday, and his homer rocketed out of Wrigley Field at a speed of almost 114 miles an hour. The hardest home run he's hit this year. And Cole's fastball is in.
I feel like he's stating his case for the All-Star game. It was prior to that home run yesterday that we did that. Let's do it one more time. He's been awesome this year. Marcell Ozuna deserves certainly more respect in that voting.
You can see a trio of Marlins in the home run leaders. Watch this thing jump off the bat.
Absolute missile. What an adjustment. This was the 3rd at bat against Lackey. The first 2 at bats, not so good. Laid off a couple of tough pitches right there. Got a fastball that he could pick on, and man, oh man, he did not miss it. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Vote now, Marcell Ozuna.
1-2 pitch here. And he stays alive. Garrett Cole's been a bulldog. He's one of those starters that you love to have in your rotation. Clint Hurdle has leaned on him, and he's responded. He was an all-star in 2015. He's had some injury issues, a shoulder in 14, an elbow last year.
And he looks healthy right now. A lot of velocity on the fastball.
Strike 3 called. Ozuna shaking his head. He's still at home plate with DJ Rayburn. And that's the first out.
Cole able to go to that changeup right there. He throws it pretty hard. You saw the velocity on it. It's 89, 90 miles an hour. That's his changeup, ladies and gentlemen. Marcell Ozuna thought it was down. Borderline pitch at best. Marlins still in business JT Realmuto up.
Now, Realmuto's numbers against Cole look like an aberration or a misprint. Can he really be 9 of 11?
He's got to be. Yes, he's only made 2 outs. You see it, 8-18.
Want to know to Realmuto. Infield still back, so a key at bat for Miami if they want more out of this inning than just the 1 run.
He is out to talk to Cole. I think JT Realmuto has a lot to do with that. Remember, first base is open. Those historical numbers he's got against him. A big point in this ball game as Cole has really struggled his last 3 starts. Doesn't want to see this one slip away in the first inning.
JT hit a changeup out of Wrigley yesterday. And Cole pours across the strike. The ball and a strike.
The big issue with Cole has not been his velocity. It's actually been his location with that fastball. He has made, well, in some aspects, in some ways, too many good pitches out over the plate. He's been better over the last 4. You think back to that changeup to Ozuna and certainly getting ahead of Realmuto here with 2 strikes, working that low corner. But get this, he's only thrown 71 2/3 innings, now 72 innings this year. He's already given up a career high 15 home runs.
Count stays at 1-2. Contact obviously for Realmuto. And JT's a hitter that will choke up on the bat. He had a chance to talk to him before the game about that. He said 2 strikes shortens the swing. He talked about Anthony Rizzo and watching him from a unique perspective right behind home plate, watching Rizzo do that with success in that last series in Chicago. And you can see he's off the knob of the bat for a 1-2 from Garrett Cole. In the dirt, and it's 2-2.
Buys you an extra second in the strike zone. It's really what it does. You have a little bit more confidence. Your swing, you're not all the way down at the knob of the bat. You got a little bit more bat control, and in your mind you tell yourself, I've got just that little extra split second, which I need because I've got 2 strikes. I've got to recognize, and well, if I have to use the emergency swing, I can pull it out.
Now at 2-2. And he got him. And that's the danger of Garrett Cole, that when he needs strikeouts, he can get them.
Well, he certainly can. You see how much he misses down in the zone right there, but because it's 98 miles an hour, it certainly has more room for error, especially with 2 strikes, able to pick up a big strikeout right there, JT Realmuto. Let's scout him right now. Signs of the times. That's what's so interesting about Garrett Cole this season. Fastball velocity is actually up this year, although he's given up 15 home runs, which is, as I just said, a career high. Now, his secondary stuff has still been pretty good for him. He's got good numbers, the knuckle curve, the slider, and the change. Hitters all hitting under 250 against those pitches. And that last one, major numbers. Well, you just saw JT Realmuto now 9 for 12. I think there's plenty of examples as we get into this ball game. We're going to show them to you all night long. This Marlins lineup has got a lot of guys who have had a lot of success against Cole.
Derek Dietrich. Check swing. Called strike. And it's 1 ball and 1 strike. Dietrich's bat perking up in Chicago. In the dirt, and Diaz had to wrestle that one to the ground to prevent Stanton from charging in at third.
A nice job by Diaz right there, keeping that changeup in front of him. Would have cost the Pirates another run if it would have gotten to the backstop. See how far he missed across the strike zone right there. He is able to slide and just get the heel of the glove on that baseball.
Dietrich, a liner to right. That's off the wall. That's going to chase home 2. Stanton scores. Yelich scores. Dietrich to second, and he's in there. Hangs onto the bag with a 2-run double. That's a big hit for Derek Dietrich. You could see in the last 2 games in Chicago, Dietrich start to dial it in.
Nice approach right there. See Garrett Cole misses location again. Back out over the plate. Derek Dietrich in a hitter's count looking to pull. 2-1. Gets a pitch he likes and drives it off the right field wall. Cashing in those runs. Marlins, one of the best teams in baseball at picking up that runner at third base. You saw the numbers from Yelich as a whole, as a unit. Very good about that this year.
And a visit to the mounds. Ray Searage, the pitching coach for the Pirates. And Miami has 3 here in the first on what is an incredibly busy 24 hours in sports here in Pittsburgh. It started last night at Heinz Field. I know it's not sports, but when U2 plays, it's a big deal.
Close.
And they were right next door at Heinz Field. Marlins and Pirates opening up a 4-game set here. And of course, Penguins and Predators game 5. You could see the top of that new arena through the buildings as we look out to center field. And that game 5 faces off here in about a half an hour. You look between the middle buildings, there's a little white roof. Here is Moore, and he swings and misses.
I'm with you, partner. I saw it. Incredible skyline here in Pittsburgh, no doubt about it. Beautiful view of downtown, even from our perspective, way up here.
Tyler Moore, a couple hits last night, including a key double. Fastball up. And not only the Marlins have 3 against the Pirates ace, but they've pushed his pitch count to 29, and that's significant because Pittsburgh's bullpen is down a couple of arms tonight.
Well, you also kick a team down that just got walked off in 2 ball games in Baltimore.
Moore back to the mound. Cole has it, flips it to first in time. But Miami gives 3 runs to Edinson Volquez, who takes the hill at PNC. This 4-gamer is underway. Miami's got 3 in the first. There we go. Hum now. Hum, baby. That would be Edinson Volquez on the hill with a 3-0 lead in his back pockets. And here come the Pirates. Southwest Airlines brings it to you. Adam Frazier, Josh Harrison, Gregory Polanco, David Freese, John Jaso. Andrew McCutchen is starting to heat up. Doesn't look right that he's got a 217 next to his name. Elias Diaz. Jordy Mercer's hot. Garrett Cole hits ninth. Adam Frazier in the box. 25-year-olds out of Mississippi State facing Edinson Volquez.
There he is. You see the 2 wins, right? Those are his last 2 starts. Still looking for his first road win. 3.79 ERA. It's coming down. No hitters will do that for sure. Good stuff. Good net matchups. Good numbers here in this ballpark. 9-5 with a 3.29 over 21 starts. He's pitched very well against the Pirates. There's really no reason to believe that Edinson Volquez won't. Well, I'm not going to go as far as saying duplicating what he did last time out, but a very good start. Seems predictable.
Especially with the quality start before the no-hitter and the fact that he's pitched better than a 2-7 record. The ERA is 3.79. His run support going into that last start was the worst in the National League.
And his changeup is proving to be one of the best, and you saw it right there, and you saw it in that no-hitter. Absolutely outstanding, and I think we got a really good example or a good view, obviously, during the no-hitter of how valuable that changeup has been for him this year. He's throwing it 10% more than he usually does in his career. Hitter's only hitting 136 against that changeup.
Slowly hit. Riddle charging and throwing on the run in time to get him. Frazier is out number 1. Defense behind Volquez.
Here is your Marlins defense for tonight's ball game. Marcell Ozuna gets the start in left. Christian Yelich, Giancarlo Stanton, Dietrich over third, JT Riddle, D. Gordon, Tyler Moore, JT Realmuto, and Edinson Volquez on the mound.
Josh Harrison, who had a nice series against Miami about a month ago, takes fastball for a strike. Harrison, versatile, active, energy, all of those things.
And he's rolling right now. He's having himself a very fine season. Leads this Pirates team in multi-hit efforts, 18 of them.
Drops it down. That's gorgeous. That's going to be a base hit. So both clubs going with the short game to start. D. Gordon with a hit, and Harrison has himself a hit.
Now Dietz playing back. Harrison noticing that. Watch this. Kind of gets him to believe that he's swinging, and then able to square around at the last second. For Derek, no shot at first base. Just field that ball and eat it.
Pirates in their digital camo jerseys.
Is that what that's called?
Digital camo.
How about that?
I don't know if it's a Star Wars thing tonight, but it's a good look. Every Thursday, a little patriotic look. Got the flags going. Looks good. Gregory Polanco climbs in. In the absence of Starling Marte, Pittsburgh hoping that a guy like Polanco can help shoulder some of that loss. Harrison at first. And Polanco, the lanky lefty, takes ball 1. Polanco always has hit well against the Marlins. A 370 average in 20 games. He's driven in 15 runs with 10 extra base hits.
Last year, a breakthrough year for Polanco. This year, off to a slow start. They're certainly expecting more, and with the loss of Starling Marte in particular, leaning on Polanco to be better. Certainly more runs scored and RBIs as well. You see him right there in the middle of this lineup. Very good career numbers against the Marlins, but hasn't produced at the same level that he did last year.
Check swing. He went around. And it's 2-1. This will be always be a special place for Edinson Volquez, even though he pitched here. Here's a look at Polanco. Volquez pitched here as a Pirate for just one season in 2014. But getting to work with Ray Searage, Jim Benedict, and all the fine pitching folks here in Pittsburgh, it really turned things around for him. He had a nice career for sure, an all-star. But that last year in San Diego, he was actually designated for assignment in August. The Dodgers picked him up. He pitched a little with the Dodgers. But he walked into Pittsburgh in 14 and reeled off a 3.04 ERA and a 13-7 record, and that earned him 2 really nice years in Kansas City.
Would you agree? I think he went from a number 5 to a number 3 again. That's how you would view him. That's how the industry viewed him. It was like he was back on everybody's radar once again.
Polanco to right. Stanton drifting back, and he finds the ball and the wall. Harrison tags. Stanton throw is close, but he's in there. That ball really carried, and it took Stanton all the way up against the wall.
Well, a few different times Giancarlo Stanton thinks he's in front of that baseball, and you see it right there. It's a little disoriented at the wall. Still gets off a strong throw, flat-footed. Look at this throw, by the way. I know Josh Harrison can scoop, but that's one heck of a throw right there. Right on the bag.
David Freese now.
He's missed some time this year. Off to a really hot start. Cooled off a little bit, but has picked it back up over the last 3 ball games. Multi-hit efforts.
And a fastball from Volquez is in.
Signed an extension here last year. Talked about what's worked for him here in Pittsburgh, and it's using the middle of the field and going the other way.
Josh Harrison with a bunt single. There'll be no no-hitter here in Pittsburgh tonight. Volquez misses away with a fastball, and it's 2-0. Talking to JT Realmuto in the no-hitter, it was midway through the game, and both he and Volquez locked in on the fact that righty on righty changeup all of a sudden hit another gear, and they used it a lot from that 5th inning on. Think about that last inning in the 9th. He struck out 3 hitters, 2 of them right-handed, and both with changeups.
Struck out 6 of the last 9 hitters he faced, and it wasn't about the fastball any longer. It was about his good curveball and that changeup, because the curveball was setting up that changeup, getting ahead of those right-handed hitters with the bender first, and then really using that changeup down in the zone. It was acting like a forkball. It was amazing. I mean, that's how good that changeup was. A lot of times you watch it out of his hand. It's got good depth, and you'll see it working its way down in the zone. But how many times in those last 2 innings did we see that changeup bottom out, end up in the dirt, watching a Diamondback hitter out on his front foot trying to go down and get it?
Well, he loses Freese, and that brings up Jaso. Three 3-0 Miami on top. Jaso at first base and in the 5 spot.
Well, we've talked a little bit about what this Pirates team's gone through the last couple of ball games, getting walked off by the Baltimore Orioles. I think yesterday a particularly tough one to take. This offense has been rolling on a whole. Last 5 ball games, 5 Pirate regulars hitting well over 350.
And thus the frustration for the Pirates the last few nights, especially last night. They had 2 outs and 2 strikes and a 2-run lead, and Trey Mancini tied it for the Orioles. And then in extras, Mancini hit a 3-run homer to win it. There's a good changeup for a strike. It's 0-2. And Tony Watson, the Pirates closer, blew his 3rd consecutive save opportunity. Clint Hurdle down a couple of arms, including Watson tonight.
Well,
he may be without Felipe Rivera. Juan Nicasio might be closing tonight.
very real possibility.
I think it hit Jaso in the foot. It did. 0-2 pitch came down and got him in the foot. And now the Pirates have him loaded, and here comes McCutchen.
I think it might have got him on the bounce on the way by. It might be up by the knee. Oh no, off the front foot, top of that front foot. That's what had that baseball kind of ski balling in there.
Well, as we said when the lineups came flying by, when Andrew McCutchen's name came up and his batting average was up there with it, it just didn't match up.
No, I don't think Andrew McCutchen really cares right now. He's hitting 366 in the 6th spot in the lineup, and it's kind of helped turn this thing around for him.
And that's my point. Don't look at that number. Look at what he's done lately. He's hit in 9 of his last 11, a couple homers over that span. That's amazing to me. Without a grand slam.
It is surprising as good a hitter as Andrew McCutchen is and has been throughout his career.
Pulls that ground ball wide of third. And it counts 0-2.
See the numbers, career, and it's in Volquez, 353. Double, triple homer as well. And here Volquez ahead, 0-2.
Bags loaded. This has been a busy first inning.
See if he goes right to that changeup.
He did, and it just missed. This is a great center field camera spot to watch a game at home because you get a true look straight on center. A really clear look at in and out. Oh, wow. Strike 3 call inside corner. McCutchen is caught looking. Volquez pitched himself into trouble, and he pitches himself out of trouble. And Miami has a 3-0 lead. Volquez avoids a bases loaded spot and jumps on deck. He's due up second. JT Riddle leads it off for Miami. And Garrett Cole throws strike 1. Riddle's average now at 272 after opening his career 2 for 21. He's been over 300. It's coming back for a second go round in the big leagues.
A fantastic job using the middle of the field, going to left, taking what the pitcher gives him.
4 hits at Wrigley Field in that 3-game series. Yeah, 317 average since that 2 for 21 start. And you can see his numbers starting to pop into the rookie leaders.
And that's just fastballs and fastballs. And here's another fastball. All-Star voting. Esurance All-Star ballots is here, and you can vote for your favorite Marlin player or any player in the American League and in the National League. The All-Star game, of course, presented by MasterCard on July 11th in Miami and on Fox. Go to marlins.com/votes. Volquez, chopper, third base, and he is just out. The ankle is much better, thank you, from 5 days ago. And he hustled it and got down the line pretty well.
I think he's surprised how long this took him to get down the line. I think he might be laughing at himself a little bit. Swinging butt. David Freese, I'm going to say he took his time, but it certainly seemed like it took a while to get that throw across the diamond. Volquez out by just a half a step.
Well, he knows the scouting report. He knows it's Volquez. He knows he's got a sore wheel. Gordon a bunt single, stolen base, scored a run. And Cole with a backdoor breaking ball for a strike. Gordon with a triple last night. He has 4 on the season. And if you were around for Marlins live post game, he did tell Craig Minervini that yes, he lost track of the outs on that dash home in the 7th. Talking to Freddie Gonzalez, Freddie said D was around third so quickly that even though he lost track of the outs, he was able to put it back in gear and still score.
Well, he went from first to fourth, from about halfway around third base to home when he realized Anthony Rizzo was going to throw. The change of gears was absolutely amazing. Now watch this right here. So Stanton takes off. All right, he knows he's got to hustle. Look at that little peak right there by Montero. He knows that D. Gordon's running, but then Montero freezes. That's what I thought was so interesting there. I think Montero forgot how many outs there were as well, because he did not cover home. He even checked him.
Cole goes to first in time to get Gordon, and Miami goes 1-2-3. Gorgeous night in Pittsburgh tonight. 3-0 Miami. Some clouds, the sun is setting. The Pittsburgh Paints Arena is right between those middle buildings. See the white one
to the left
with the point?
No,
straightaway center.
The white one next to the other white one?
I don't think you can see it in that shot. That home shot, you can just see the top of it straight on center, just like a little white awning of the what they now call the Pittsburgh Paints.
You know,
Arena.
partner, I can start drawing on the telly over here if you want.
Yeah, okay, right there. See the UPMC building, the
Right
building
next
to
to it.
its left.
And then below
Go
those two
down in
buildings.
between. There's that little white ridge there. That's a little slice of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Breaking ball. This is outside to Diaz. Both pitchers threw a lot of pitches in that first inning. And even though Volquez didn't give up a run and Cole gave up 3, Cole came back for a 1-2-3 inning. We'll see if Volquez can do the same here in the second.
Well, Diaz has had impact already in this ball game. Let one go into center field. He's helped set up that first run. Been swinging the bat pretty well. And he's in there. Francisco Cervelli on the 7-day concussion DL. His last 3 starts, he's 6 for 13, couple doubles, a homer, 8 RBIs.
And Volquez walked him. Now, some people have asked, hey, can Edinson Volquez follow up the no-hitter with a great start? So we queried Stats Inc. to find out the last 12 pitchers to throw a no-hitter. What did they do afterwards? And you can see those splits aren't great right now. Well, as far as decisions go, last 12 no-hit pitchers, 8 and 2 with 2 no decisions. And the 2 no decisions were Chris Heston of the Giants and Josh Beckett of the Dodgers.
Well, I mean, I think it speaks directly to, and you can almost talk about it in terms of hitting. When you find your groove, if you will, you tend to stay in it, and there's no reason to believe that, you know, I'd almost be surprised if the numbers were anything but what you just told us, Rich. You know, hitter finds it, he finds his stroke, he starts to run with it. It doesn't matter. You hear hitters say, oh, it doesn't matter who's out there right now. The ball looks like a beach ball, right? You've heard that a million times. Same thing for the pitchers. I'm in rhythm. My changeup's where it needs to be. My curveball is curving. My slider's sliding. And boy, my fastballs, I'm keeping it out of the middle of the plate.
Yeah, of course, one of the many fascinating facts about the no-hitter, the fact that he came in under 100 pitches, 98 pitches. Juan Nieves, who threw a no-hitter himself. He's one of the 294 all-time no-hitters, along with Volquez.
I've been meaning to ask you this, and certainly wanted to do it on air because I think it's Jordy. He's going to get out of play. I wanted to ask you this on air. I've been thinking about it since the no-hitter, but you know, we watched those last 3 innings. We talked about it. I've said the numbers, the 6 strikeouts, the last 9 guys he faces. But I mean, didn't you see or sense? Because I mean, that's what I felt like I was seeing. Arizona Diamondbacks almost were so aware of that no-hitter that the swinging got, you know, their strike zones got bigger. It started to expand. Edinson did a fantastic job of exploiting that. You saw the better at bats from the Diamondbacks, even a couple of the walks. They were earlier in the ballgame. They seemed a little more disciplined. But to the 98 pitches, those last 3 innings, they weren't pressuring him. They were just up there to try to get a hit.
A lot of things go into that, I would expect. And you were very good at identifying what we talked about in the first inning. That changeup all of a sudden turned into an absolute weapon. And that really helped, I think, expand the strike zone. They call that a Maddox, by the way, to throw a no-hitter under 100 pitches, right, or a complete game under 100 pitches. That one's pulled foul. Of the 294 no-hitters, I believe there's only been 13 Maddoxes, which is under 100. And Volquez
still got the double digits in strikeouts. That's as dominant. It's about as dominant as you can get in the game of baseball.
The lowest pitch count on record for a no-hitter was David Cohn's perfect game when he threw 88. Mercer check swing. Real Muto caught it. Did it hit the ground? And I think it did. So the count stays 2-2. We have an angle here roughly the same as the Goodyear blimp, and I don't say that in sarcasm, but the Goodyear blimp is here today, and it's hovering above downtown Pittsburgh for the Stanley Cup. We're up, but you know what? With the view that we've got, that's okay. Line drive, foul. Fox Vision helps us illustrate just how good the changeup was.
I use the word split finger as a reference to what his changeup was doing. Watch how it starts out, a lot of these in the zone and then bottoms out. You see how they're getting all the way down to the dirt. JT keeping him in front right there. That one actually bounces just past home plate. And the hitters are way out in front of these. Now watch as this game's going on, right? You see as this game goes on, as we showed you there, they got better. They were down in the dirt. I mean, here's the thing. Even if you know that pitch is coming, Rich, you're still swinging at it. You're not doing anything with it. There's not a base hit down there. That's what, again, was so amazing to watch what he did. He threw as many late in the game as he did really all game, and they were all valuable and certainly effective in getting those strikeouts.
But here again in the second, a walk to Diaz, a deep count with Mercer, 14th pitch of the inning. That is strike 3 called. DJ Rayburn, and the second strikeout for Edinson Volquez.
Well, this is almost a great example of the reverse strategy. I'm pretty convinced Jody Mercer was kind of keeping an eye on that changeup right there. And Edinson dials up the low zone right out over the plate at 95 miles an hour.
Now Cole, who squares the bunt. Dietrich creeps in. And that one bunted foul. The count is 0-1. You've got the catcher Diaz at first. And so the pressure always on the bunter here to make sure it's not too close to the plate where the catcher can grab it, or too strong back to the mound or to the third baseman.
Surprised Marlins aren't trying to maybe be a little bit more aggressive with this. You get the catcher over at first base and Diaz.
Pitch misses down low. It's 1 ball and 1 strike. You see that giant P behind home plate. Those colors and that P and the skating penguin were all over downtown today. You walked out of the hotel and it was people in baseball gear and obviously people in hockey sweaters and hockey gear. There's the bunt. Real Muto chases him out of the way and gets the out at first base. And it dawned on me at the time as I watched the Penguin fans and the Pirate fans mill about and all their stuff. Is this the only city in all of sports where the 3 major teams share the same colors? I mean, the Steelers, same colors. Penguins, same colors. Pirates, same colors. See where I'm going with this?
I think you're onto something.
There's a strike to Adam Frazier. Frazier getting playing time in left. Starling Marte, 90-game suspension, violating the PED rules in Major League Baseball. Diving stop Moore. Flip to first Volquez. Nicely done. May have saved a run there. And Volquez strands another runner. 3 early runs for the Fish and a 3-0 lead.
Welcome back. 7 years ago to this day, Giancarlo Stanton, his Major League debut, June 8, 2010 in Philadelphia. That was his first hit, and he thought about those moments. Today, he had 3 hits in the game.
I wasn't nervous. I was just trying to handle everything, but not in a nervous light.
You crushed that first hit.
Yeah, probably the hardest hit of my career. Seems like it's been forever and flown by at the same time. So just glad I keep pushing it forward.
Hey guys, G described that first hit as a 105 hopper, but he did have 3 hits in a day. He said, I wasn't too excited because I had Halladay the next day, but it is hard to believe that 7 years ago today, and Freddie Gonzalez was waiting for him. He was the manager at the time, and finally he came up June 8th.
Well, that was before StatCast, so I don't think we were able to get a good reading off the bat. Freddie Gonzalez, his skipper. Gonzalez now the third base coach. Stanton sends a couple up and out of play.
Sure, Giancarlo Stanton that day was just glad to get it out of the way. Think back to all the stories and really a lot of the younger players who sometimes hit those little, you've heard them, the 0 for 20s or the 21s to start the career. I think as a hitter, you do, not that you don't think you're going to arrive and get a hit and certainly get your career moving in the right direction. It's like, just get that first one out of the way and take a deep breath. He didn't seem like he was too worried about it.
That's a good pitch. Cole, sharp breaker. Stanton walked back in the first, and he strikes out here in the third. Cole has retired 5 straight.
Yeah, Cole able to use that slider right here. It's got a lot more depth to it than it did first inning. See Giancarlo Stanton. Really the key to Garrett Cole and so much of his success is his fastball location. If he's on, he can open up his arsenal. Use his secondary pitches in a way that he can take advantage of the aggressiveness of hitters. If he doesn't, if that fastball is finding the middle of the plate or he's scattering it, hitters don't get off the fastball.
Yelich scorches one into right center field. That might be 2, and he's not stopping. Polanco's throw not in time. Yelich has a pair of doubles, and he absolutely has eaten Garrett Cole alive. Yelich now 9 for 16.
Well, center cut fastball, Rich. I mean, you see it right there. 1-0 count. It's what he's thinking about hitting right there. Gets it from him. Good velocity, but not a lot of movement out over the plate. Stays right through it. Exit velocity, guarantee you, well over 100 miles an hour. Barreled it up and drove it into center field.
There you go. 3 homers in that run. Here's Ozuna.
And JT Riddle are going to have at it. Best numbers against Garrett Cole. My goodness.
Well, Yelich was having none of any of that talk at batting practice today.
Well, no, but you and I can talk.
Our producer, John Sulser, asking him and wanting to know, hey, what is it about Cole?
Yeah,
and Yelich said,
talk.
who? Garrett, yeah. Who? Yeah, he said, no, I'm just luck. Ozuna busts his bat. It rolls to first. Jaso gets to the bag and gets the out. Yelich arrives at third. And it will be a Real Muto at bat with a runner at third and 2 outs.
Well, Marcell Ozuna eaten up by that fastball, just a bit on his hands right there.
Now, JT, as we explained, 9 for 11 to start the night against Cole. Now 9 for 12. Cole struck him out on a bullet of a fastball that dove down, and Real Muto swung through it. And that's what made Derek Dietrich's hit so big. Cole had second and third and nobody out, and he struck out Ozuna and Real Muto. It looked like he was going to get out of that first with just the 1 run. Dietrich blistered one off the wall in right. He's starting to dial that breaking ball in.
Yeah, that's what's working for him right now. Back to the first inning, it was big, it was up out over the plate, missed a few different times. Right now he's got it working to that outside corner. We talked about this. In so many ways his fastball is such a key to his success, but when he's got his secondary pitches working, the evidence is that still the National League's having a hard time dealing with his slider, his curveball, which he also throws, and a good changeup.
JT, a little pop out in the shallow right. Harrison's tracking. Look out. Polanco calls him off and takes a stab at it and holds on. 3-0 Miami. For the Marlins and the Pirates, game 2, former Pirate Vance Worley going against Tyler Glasnow. 6:30 for Marlins Live, and that is tomorrow. In fact, Miami has 3 starters in this series that used to be in Pittsburgh's rotation. How about that? Now that may be the largest Chewbacca that we've seen either in a Star Wars movie or in a Star Wars promotion. That guy put the chew in Chewbacca. There's a breaking ball for a strike, but it's just odd when they take the hat off.
Yeah, he's got to stay in costume.
He needs to stay in shape is what he needs to. Here's the 0-1 to Harrison.
Telling me it's hot in there? Is that what you're getting?
Apparently either that or too many visits to Primanti Brothers.
He's agreeing with you. Look at that. There you go.
That's a big Chewbacca.
Sure it is.
That's a great sign, though. Got the kids, got the gloves, and he's sporting the pirate cap. Harrison, Polanco, and Freeze against Edinson Volquez, who doesn't look. I was about to say he doesn't have the stuff he had, but who would? I mean, he had no hit stuff, and so. But he's not as sharp as he was 2 starts ago either. He's had already 46 pitches as he starts the 3rd. And Harrison pulls it wide of third base.
Well, sometimes you search for that rhythm. I think he's certainly given enough signs that he's going to be able to get to that point in the ball game where he hits a good stretch of 3 or 4 innings in a row. We've seen that change up down, the good breaking ball. He's made some pitches, just hasn't been able to manage that pitch count as efficiently as he would like. Part of it's this. The Pirates have thrown a lot of foul balls out there as well. Been able to defend some of these pitches a little bit better than the Diamondbacks and put together some at bats as well.
There's a swing and a miss. So Harrison strikes out. Third punch out for Volquez. Coors Light cold hard facts. Days between no-hitters. Johnny Vandermeer back-to-back no-hitters back in 1938. Nolan Ryan did it within a 2-month window. Allie Reynolds in 51. Max Scherzer, modern day, back in 2015. 105 days between no-hitters. And of course, here is Volquez after his no-hitter. Polanco takes outside. Craig, you've got more?
Rich, a lot of times you bring up an older player to a baseball player of today's modern age, and they're not that familiar, although Vandermeer, of course, because of the back-to-back no-hitters, a little more well-known. But it did happen in 1938 around this time. It was June 11th and June 15th. But Edinson Volquez very familiar with Johnny Vandermeer even before his no-hitter, because in Cincinnati in 2008, Edinson won the team's Johnny Vandermeer Pitcher of the Year award. So he has a big trophy in his house. He had an amazing season. That was his first full rookie season. We have some numbers on it for you too. He was 17-8 as that ball is hit into Stanton. 17-6, I believe, with a 3.21 ERA. 17-6, 206 strikeouts, was tied for second in the NL. And so he won that award. And when the name Johnny Vandermeer came up when we talked about him yesterday, he was very familiar with the very good left-handed pitcher from the Reds.
It's always nice to hear that.
I think back to his shorter stay with the Reds. You know, when Johnny Cueto was there, he and Johnny Cueto, I was really surprised that the Cincinnati Reds didn't try to hold on to both of them. Both had signs of tremendous upside. I mean, obviously both have gone on and had very, very nice careers. You see the numbers right there. Edinson Volquez, Johnny Cueto, obviously with the San Francisco Giants, but they were together in Cincinnati. I was really surprised the Reds were willing to get rid of him, especially, you know, I was a Red in 06, and I remember how desperate they were for pitching, and certainly starting pitching.
He's 0-2 on David Freese, who flips one down the right field line, and that is foul. The Padres traded to get him in the Matt Latos trade. And of course, Latos is one of those names, but the other two names, Yasmani Grandal and Yonder Alonso, a couple Miami guys going from Cincinnati to San Diego. Volquez looking sharp, punching out Freese, and a 3-0 Miami lead. Well, the Marlins just left Wrigley Field. Their rematch with the Cubs is coming up, this time in Miami. Cubs and Marlins from June 22nd through the 25th. Marlins.com/tickets. Miami hosting the defending World Series champions. And here is Derek Dietrich. Big hit for Dietrich. A liner that slammed into the wall in right. And he smokes that one down the left field line. Into the corner it goes. Off the wall. Dietrich around first. And yes, the bat has come to life for Derek Dietrich. Second double of the ball game.
How you follow up those two first at bats of the game. My goodness gracious. A double to right, a double to left. Stays on that fastball. Got to get him out of the batter's box a little cleaner. A little slip there out of the box. He did that yesterday. Did it again. Almost went down. Got to recover and get himself into second base. Good swing of the bat right there by Dietz.
Tyler Moore now. You got Moore, then Riddle, then Volquez. And Moore pops it up back behind the plate. Diaz for a look. It's over the screen and it's out of play.
Couple of nice at bats yesterday for Tyler Moore. That Marlins win.
Obviously, the Marlins missed Justin Bour. Good matchup numbers against the Cubs. Remember, it was the Pirates in which Bour had 6 RBIs, 4 hits, including a home run. So that's the contributions from Moore yesterday. Very significant. Drills one, center field deep. Back goes McCutchen, looking up, bangs off the top of the wall. Dietrich around third, he'll score. Moore to second with a cannon of a double off the very top of the wall in straightaway center, and it's 4-0.
Watch this beautiful swing from Moore. Wants to get the runner over. He's thinking middle away. Gets a fastball on the inside part of the plate. Up about thigh high right there. But this is all about the thought that he was putting into this at bat. He wasn't trying to pull the baseball to the left side. He was going to stay inside the ball, get the ball to center or over to right. Pays off with a long double off that center field wall. Marlins really starting to pick on that Garrett Cole fastball right now.
Changeup gets a strike for Cole against Riddle, who struck out back in the second. Well, the Marlins have not hit a homer, as you pointed out at the top of the telecast. 8 homers in his last 3 starts, but what they have done is almost double him to death. 5 doubles tonight.
Well, it's also part of the conversation. We can steer in that direction. It's not hard to do. Garrett Cole's had issues with that this year. 74 hits he's given up coming into tonight's ball game. 33 have gone for extra bases. So not only has the long ball been a problem, certainly of late, but he's been giving up doubles. He's been giving up triples. He's had issues. He's getting hit hard, and it's really that fastball. I mean, listen to these slugging percentages. I'm going to throw them out again one more time. On the 4-seam fastball, hitters on the season are slugging .606 against it. This guy throws 98 miles an hour pretty consistently. The 2-seam fastball, hitters are slugging .579 against his fastball. So, I mean, in a lot of ways, to kind of keep things under control, he's really had to go to those secondary pitches.
So, is it location in terms of where the ball is hit, or is it location that he's too fine or maybe has too much control?
I think that's probably the case. I mean, sometimes when you're finding too much of the plate or you're lacking that depth, when you hear somebody like myself, an analyst, talking about depth, basically we're talking about movement at home. Velocity's fine and dandy.
Riddle strikes out.
You see it right there at 98 miles an hour. It's a great thing to have, but anybody, any great catcher will tell you, any hitter will tell you, the hardest thing to hit is late movement in the hitting zone. And that's when you watch Garrett Cole pitch, he has more movement on his secondary pitches than he has on his fastball, even at 98 miles an hour. Even to the eye, even on TV, it looks very, very straight, and the hitters pick it up the same way.
Now Volquez, and there's one out. One of the things that, oddly enough, saved the no-hitter was Volquez getting a hit early and then getting on base with his next at bat, because his ankle hurt and he was limping around. He never sat down the entire game. Think about that, how pitchers between innings go sit down, put a towel on their arm, or just zone out. He was walking back behind the dugout trying to keep that ankle loose the whole game.
Well, we talked about that. That it was going to be the avenue he was going to have to take. I think I even mentioned that they may even bring an exercise bike down to the dugout just so that he can stay in motion and keep that ankle loose. No doubt about it, if he would have taken any kind of timeout. Remember, the Marlins scored some runs that day. I mean, it was a little bit later in the ball game, but there was a couple innings in there that got a little lengthy.
Volquez got sawed off there, rolls it to first. Moore ends up at third.
If he would have sat down, say, for 10 minutes, 12 minutes in an inning, there's no doubt that ankle would have gotten stiff. Probably wouldn't have been able to go back out.
And Volquez made the point after the game to Craig that getting the hit and then getting on the next at bat, it almost gave him the confidence that he could stay in the game, because third, fourth, fifth inning, even Don Mattingly said there was talk of him coming out because of the pain and because of the swelling in the ankle. And Volquez, after those 2 times on base, suddenly came off the bases, knew that he had a no-hitter once he got to the 5th, and just decided, to heck with it. I'm just going to pitch as long as I can. I'm not coming out of the game.
Well, and if you put that together with the fact that Edinson Volquez has been throwing solid over his last few starts, but when you put all the story together, we know that it's been somewhat of a disconnected start for him to this season. The ankle, if he'd have walked a couple of hitters, Don Mattingly may have had to take him out of a game. It was a 1-run ball game, remember, until the very end.
Gordon out by a step. Tyler Moore's double makes it 4-0. Edinson Volquez said he dedicated that game to his late teammate Yordano Ventura, who passed away tragically with the Kansas City Royals, and Jose Fernandez. So the question was, what was the relationship between he and Jose?
A little bit last year, I was throwing bullpen, I remember, and he came in. I think he was throwing bullpen too. And I asked him, hey, can you show me how you throw a slider? Because I don't know how to throw it. And he go like, can you show me how to throw your changeup? Because man, you don't need that. You're good. He go like, we start talking about, try to be friendly, all that. And the year before too, we talked about pitching. We hang out a little bit outside the ballpark. And he was a really nice guy.
Very emotional day, and You know, we mentioned it during the course of the no-hitter, what Volquez has been through over the last 2 years. That game 1 start in the 15 World Series. He lost his father that day. Ball in the air to left center. In comes Ozuna, and he makes the catch. He wasn't told before the start. He didn't learn until he came out of that game that his father had passed, and he went to the services over the next couple of games of the series. He came back and pitched game 5. Royals won game 1. Game 5 against the Mets he started. They would win that game. Christian Colon with a big hit in extra innings in game 5. And so both games that he started in the World Series, the Royals won. There's McCutchen swinging a miss. Of course, this offseason, too, he lost his brother.
Right.
In the Dominican Republic. And Ventura was like a little brother to him.
Right. I don't want to assume anything here. And I'm certainly not, you know, I don't really have the right to do it. I just kind of wanted to say it out loud. You know, you talk about the losses that he dealt with in his own family. And certainly, I would imagine that some responsibility has fallen upon his shoulders inside of his family in dealing with those losses. To what degree, I certainly do not know. But I think it's, you know, it's interesting how he's had to deal with that, and then the role he's played with this Marlins ball club. Because let's remember this. Edinson Volquez probably would say, I mean, Jose Fernandez passed away last year. Edinson Volquez came in. People around the country kind of look and say, okay, well, he's the replacement for Jose Fernandez because Jose Fernandez is no longer with us. Again, having to shoulder so much of that responsibility. You know, he's one of the older guys on this staff. Certainly one of the older brothers, as I like to call them, has that responsibility as well.
Just watching him in spring training and watching him the first 2 months plus, to me, he's the Martin Prado of the rotation.
Right.
Prado is such a leader, incredibly respected. And I think Volquez has that same pedigree throughout the game, and certainly in this clubhouse.
It really has grown, and I know how eager, you know, when Edinson came over, signed his deal. I know everybody, you know, things start to get going, and you know, you're supposed to turn into right away what everybody thinks you're supposed to be. And I know that when you look at the wins and the losses and what went on early, you know, there was some discouragement around, and I certainly heard a little bit of it. But I'll tell you what, I mean, he has stayed with it. He's been outstanding, certainly over the last few weeks. He's given his Marlins teammates opportunities to win baseball games.
Count 2-2. Now, during that last pitch, there was you could hear a roar in the crowd, and apparently the Penguins have scored.
It startled me. It did. Wasn't ready for it. I'm like, what's going on?
There will be no parade that we have to deal with tomorrow, though, because that series is tied 2 games apiece. McCutchen 2-2, and he chases. You think about it now, Volquez, and I sort of, just as an aside, after the bunt by Harrison said, well, no hitter tonight. Harrison's bunt single in the first. That's it right now.
Yeah. And guess what? Those secondary pitches are dialed in, down in the zone, and you're watching Pirates hitters struggling right now to differentiate between the fastball, the slider, and sometimes that changeup, obviously down in the zone, and you see him expanding.
Breaking ball in there for a strike. Elias Diaz, 26-year-old Venezuelan, known as a very good defensive catcher. As Todd explained, Francisco Cervelli on the 7-day concussion disabled list. Regular catcher. Dietrich going to have to hurry. Gets the throw off and gets it there in time. And a 1-2-3 inning for Volquez. He has retired 9 straight.
Hey,
Baseball Fox Sports Florida is brought to you by Jeep. Get great deals on the Jeep lineup at the Jeep Spring Clearance Event. And by your South Florida Chevy dealers. Night is falling. 4-0 here. Marlins on top. Penguins have a 1-0 lead over Nashville just across the river. Giancarlo Stanton digs in and fouls a fastball back. Stanton has walked and has struck out. The Marlins have a lot of doubles tonight. 5 of them. 5 of their 6 hits. Little slow ground ball. Stanton charging towards first, and Mercer's throw just gets him. Christian Yelich and Marcell Ozuna. Yelich, we documented the home runs that he's hit here against Cole. He hasn't homered, but he sure has smoked the ball twice. He's doubled 2 times. Drove in a run and scored as well in the first, and then he doubled in the third.
Well, Cole's made 2 mistakes to him out over the plate, and he's made him pay for both of them. First time a slider, second time a fastball, and right on him. Whether he chooses to acknowledge his past success or not.
Inside fastballs out in front, 0-2.
And that's where Garrett Cole really needs to be in order to use his secondary pitches more effectively.
Yelich hits it hard out to short. Mercer gathers it in and throws him out. And a couple of ground ball outs start the 5th. And that brings up Marcell Ozuna. Some of the biggest hits for the Marlins have come down the bottom of the order. Derek Dietrich 2 doubles, has driven in 2. Tyler Moore has a double and an RBI. And Ozuna takes a ball in the dirt.
Let's see if Marcell Ozuna can't do something similar to last night. Back to the ball game. Didn't have a very good first 2 at bats. John Lackey kind of had his number, got in his kitchen a couple of times, but man, that 3rd at bat really made some nice adjustments. Got a good pitch to hit. Unloaded.
Speaking of unloading, Arizona did that against San Diego, 15-3 today.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Where'd they play?
It was in Arizona. Diamondbacks are back in Arizona. Of course, the Marlins.
Sounds like the humidor is not up and running yet.
And the Diamondbacks swept the Padres.
Oh my.
Just missed inside. Got 2-2. Chris Iannetta and Daniel Descalso homering. Ozuna into right field. And he's got a 2-out single. Gets Real Muto in at bat here in the 5th.
Nice job by Marcell Ozuna right there. We talk about those in-game adjustments. Struggling with Garrett Cole down in the zone. Got a fastball up right there, able to stay inside it, pick up a base hit here with 2 outs.
Of course, the Marlins are here for a long 4-game weekend series, and then home for 2 against Oakland. A Tuesday night and a Wednesday afternoon against the Athletics. Cole just stepped off the mound. You heard the crowd roar. Cole stepped off.
I think it startled him as well. I mean, it's a pretty good roar inside the stadium when they keep scoring.
Pitch knocked down by Diaz. Yeah, but with a runner at first, he may have thought that Ozuna was running, or he may be dialed in that the Penguins just scored their second goal.
Well,
Apparently it's 2-0 now.
Listen, when you're on the field, you get that tunnel vision, and when you're in that tunnel, man, nothing. You don't hear it, you don't sense it. But when it's something that's above and beyond what you normally would hear on a baseball field, it will startle you.
No doubt, Fox Sports Go. Swing and a miss. Actually, I don't know if NBC Sports Network or NBC has a mobile app. They do. That's been confirmed in the truck. Ozuna at first, 1-1 pitch. And it's out. Well, we'll know that that game is over, right? When the Goodyear blimp turns around and goes home. Goes home. It's hanging over Pittsburgh right now.
It's a move. It's lurking.
Yeah. Has a liner into left field, and JT has got a solid base hit. So 2 singles with 2 outs. Dietrich, who's doubled twice, comes up. Toyota brings you an inside look. Road batting average. Let's go all the way back to 2015. JT Realmuto's year at .325 average since then. Only Jose Altuve and Daniel Murphy in Major League Baseball with a better road average in that time frame than Realmuto.
Well, anytime you can be better than Mike Trout, you should talk about it.
And yet Realmuto is I don't want to say he's anonymous, but
he didn't like talking about it.
Not well known. He's not a guy that draws a lot of attention to himself.
Very unassuming. Goes about his business, and you can vote for him. That's right. JT Realmuto's having an all-star caliber season.
He would now, if instead of the final vote, if they had, like, for 5 players, if they had to wrestle for the spot,
it's a good chance he wins.
I think JT probably would win. He came from a wrestling family. His cousin John Smith, the great Olympic gold medal champion. He's got a couple of other cousins who are NCAA champions. So I like that idea, right? Maybe a 5-guy cage match. Whoever wins is the all-star.
Probably put you in a sleeper hold and actually work, right?
As long as Evan Gattis is not one of the 5.
The lumberjack.
Yes.
Well, JT Realmuto has now reached base in 17 consecutive ball games.
Dietrich fouls it back to the screen.
He knew he was going to get a hit at some point. Figured he was due.
Dietrich base hit yesterday, doubled 2 nights ago. And his 2-run double in the first was a key one that came with 2 outs and 2 on, and it drove home both runs. Then he doubled and scored in the 4th. So he's been in the middle of both rallies. One and 2. Although it was a tough night for Dietrich last night, because he's a Cleveland guy, born and raised, and the whole collapse in the last 2 minutes by the Cavaliers was devastating.
Really?
Well, to them and to him.
Was it? I mean, was it? I mean, I mean, I get it, but I don't know. I know he had his jersey on.
He did. He had his Cleveland jersey on in the clubhouse, which made him a pretty good target.
I knew it was more vocal the last 2. This is what I was told. It was a lot more vocal between he and the Golden State Warrior fans leading up to that.
Breaking ball. Dietrich's got another hit. Ozuna around 3rd, and he scores. Big night for Derek Dietrich. Taking out his Cleveland frustrations on Garrett Cole.
If you say so. Either way, he'll take it. Great night tonight. 2nd hit the other way. 3rd hit on the ball game. Take a breaking ball here with 2 outs, runners in scoring position right there, and shoot it the other way. Boy, the approach. Look at that. Real quick swing. Kind of let it get in there. Quick bat. Front foot down. Real nice approach.
First baseman, Tyler Moore.
Pirates bullpen active. Yan Marinez Look at that. Look at, it's like a painting right now. That's the view that we have here from the press box. More high pop. I mean, if right now, as we look out onto the skyline of Pittsburgh, it does not look real. It looks like a movie set. It looks like they CG'd buildings and the orange on the face of the buildings. This is a popular place to shoot movies. Some of the Batman filmers here. That's into left field. Off the bat of Moore. Rounding third, Real Muto, and he's going to score. And Miami adds another. It's 6-0. Tyler Moore with 2 hits and 2 RBIs.
Well, you kept talking about all the doubles in this ball game. How about 4 consecutive singles? All line drives, all well struck. Another 2-hit performance for Tyler Moore tonight. It's a slider right there that didn't slide very much. Certainly didn't get itself to the outside corner. Stays on it right there. Pulls it into left field. Speedy JT Realmuto all the way around to score. Everybody tonight up and down this Marlins lineup contributing.
Here is Riddle. No Batman segue there. And he takes a strike. Now Riddle's the one guy that hadn't been able to enjoy offensively the night. He has struck out twice. Dietrich at second, Moore at first. There's a look from the that's behind the right field wall here at PNC, the convention center. It's the city of bridges, and the bridges across the Allegheny, and with a confluence just upriver. That's going to fall in for a hit. Riddle's got one, and here comes Dietrich to score. And Garrett Cole is getting knocked around here.
5 consecutive singles for Marlins hitters. JT Riddle stays in there. 2 strikes. We talked about it. Biggest difference coming back since his recall, using the middle of the field, going the other way. Contributions top to bottom in the lineup.
It's a busy night on the bases, busy night in the box score.
You know who loves that box score right there?
The guy with nothing next to his name?
No, Don Mattingly. That's who loves that box score. He's the one who made out that lineup tonight. He's proud of everybody. Everybody contributed.
Now the Goodyear blimp is sensing something's going on over here. It's headed in this direction. I think from above they've seen a lot of Marlins running around the bases. 7-0 Miami. Pitching change for Pittsburgh.
Kyle Bearclaw is a big Warriors fan. These guys were playing Papa Shot recently. Don Mattingly also up on the NBA Finals with a couple of shots at Dietrich as well.
I was kind of for the Cavs in that game last night, for sure. Wanted to see it make a good series, and you know, you love seeing how guys react as they get into like Game 5s and Game 6s and things like that.
Did you console Derek Dietrich at all? He's very upset wearing his LeBron jersey.
Dietrich's, I can't even go into him.
Try.
That's a book. Things you'd have to console.
Dietrich's not very happy. He had his beautiful Cavalier, the official Cavalier jersey, and now down 0-3. But as you know, Don Mattingly, a big basketball fan as well. But the guys are having a lot of fun, as you guys talked about, in the very tight confines of the Cubs clubhouse, which made the Pirate clubhouse guys seem like it was 10 times the size walking in there today.
Yeah, you're right about that. Jacob Stallings. Now, speaking of basketball, his father is the head coach at the University of Pittsburgh, former head coach at Vanderbilt, Kevin Stallings. So how about that? Just on cue if we're going to talk hoops. He even looks like his dad. His dad doesn't wear a mask, but behind it he looks just like his father. And of course Lawrence, Kansas. If you want to continue the basketball discussion. Jan Marinez in for the Pirates, a 4.39 ERA. Bouncer to third. Freeze goes the short way to get Riddle at second, but Miami drops 3 more on the Pirates on a absolutely picture-perfect night. Marlins on top of the Pirates. D. Gordon opened this ball game with a bunt hit, and you take it from there, partner.
Well, fantastic bunt by D. Gordon. I'm just saying here, I'm looking for, listen, we got to figure out what happens at the end of this ball game. But you see the little conversation right there with Josh Harrison? That's like, hey man, nice bunt, but you know what? I can bunt too. I can do it better than you can. Let's remember, Josh Harrison's got the only hit in the ball game tonight. I bet if you ask D. Gordon, Josh probably telling him, oh yeah, he put that in my head. I'm going to lead off the game. I'm going to drop down a bunt myself, and you see it right there. So far, so good for Edinson Volquez. 4 innings, only the 1 bunt base hit by Josh Harrison.
And so Volquez goes to work. Jordy Mercer. Jacob Stallings. And then you got Adam Frazier. Mercer struck out back in the second. Yeah, the Harrison bunt single back in the first. Now Volquez has walked a couple. He's hit a batter as well. He's retired 9 straight. He's that righty on righty changeup.
So effective. Right-handers not used to seeing that. Occasionally, not as much as Edinson Volquez is willing to go to it. Certainly forcing the right-handed hitters to respect it.
That one lined foul.
Well, that's what happened his last. The first at bat that Jordy Mercer had, he threw that changeup up and in right there. Kind of gets away from him a little bit. Yanked it foul. Went back to the low fastball and was able to pick up a strikeout.
One, two. And the count stays there. 7 runs, 11 hits for Miami. Just the 1 bunt hit for Pittsburgh. He chases. And Volquez has strikeout number 6. This season, every base that D. Gordon steals will help fight to end hunger and poverty in the Dominican Republic. D has pledged to personally donate $200 for each stolen base. He's swiped 19 so far. And he's asking fans to make a pledge of their own. Anyone who donates is eligible for VIP Marlins experiences. So join the fight at pledgeit.org/D-Gordon. pledgeit.org, then a slash, then D, then a dash, then Gordon. Here now is Jacob Stallings. Stallings got up to the Pirates last year, and he came up from AAA and joins him here. How fantastic is it that his father is now coaching in the city where he gets to the big leagues? I mean, do you know what the odds are against that?
No idea, but I would assume astronomical.
Busted bat in on his hands. On to first. I mean, look, coaching in college basketball is a vagabond type existence. His father played at Purdue, was an assistant then at Purdue, and then Kansas. He was born in Lawrence, Kansas at that time. And then Kevin Stallings got a head coaching job at Illinois State, and he was there from 93 to 99. Long time at Vanderbilt. And his son had been drafted, was in the minor leagues. The Pittsburgh job opens up when Jamie Dixon goes back to TCU. Kevin Stallings gets the job here, and now his kid's in the big leagues here in Pittsburgh. That's amazing, really. Adam Frazier, an 0 for 2 night. $11 straight set down by Volquez.
Look out.
6:30 Marlins Live tomorrow on a Friday night in the Berg. Jessica Blaylock doing a fine job with Preston Wilson in the studio. We're headed there after our next commercial break. Josh Harrison and the Bucks. There was a group playing frisbee in a boat that were asking where Jessica was. before this game. That's where she was on the river last year. She'll have to answer to that after this timeout. Edinson Volquez, masterful, a one-hitter tonight. Yeah, they miss you here in Pittsburgh. That Frisbee game was something to behold last year. Harrison around that ground ball, throws. Gordon's out. And sprawling John Jaso at first base. And that's the first out of the 6th inning. There's a look at it at first base. We'll see if Jaso kept his foot on the bag.
Josh Harrison able to get in front of that one, chooses to throw it on the run. Looks like Jaso able to toe the bag right there. D. Gordon hustling all the way.
Giancarlo Stanton's 0 for 2. Max Moroff is at shortstop. Phil Gosselin's now at third base.
Marlins did not get in early last night here into Pittsburgh. Their night game in Chicago. Neither did the Pirates as well.
Pitch misses in.
Did they
Pirates
get in later than we did?
About the same time.
Same time? Is that
about
right?
the same time. Marlins got to their hotel, what was it, 3 a.m.?
Mm-hmm.
Pirates played that 11-inning game in Baltimore. Stanton chases a slider. This was a Garrett Cole start, and it didn't go well for the Pirates ace. Miami got to him for 3 runs in the first and added on and finally knocked him out in the 5th.
11 hits in 4 2/3 innings. 6 on that 4-seam fastball we talked about.
Stanton to right, lifts it down into the corner, and it's going to peel just foul. Counts 1-2. The big nights tonight so far, if you're just happening by. Christian Yelich, 2 doubles, knocked in a run, scored a run. Derek Dietrich, 3 hits, 2 doubles, 3 RBIs, 2 runs scored. Tyler Moore's got 2 hits, and both of them knocked in a run, a double and a single.
Good example right there of what Giancarlo Stanton has to deal with. Say, okay, well, that was a game plan for Garrett Cole. You saw it right there, time and time again. Fastballs in, fastballs away, but that slider almost always down in the zone.
Fastball at 96, and it strikes Stanton out.
Wow. Careful around here.
That was a Star Wars sound effect for a strikeout.
I ducked.
We have seen, who have we seen here? We saw Hans Lobo, an Ewok dabbing at the very top of the show. We saw Chewbacca. Chewie's got nachos going.
Yeah, be sure not to get any of that in his hair.
Yeah, well, that's hard to do.
Probably even harder with his head on.
There used to be, back when the Marlins played in the old football stadium, there used to be a fan that would come in a Chewbacca costume, and it was so hot. He would come day games, night games, and we just couldn't imagine how hot it was inside that costume. The Penguins just scored again. You could hear the crowd, and so I'm assuming that's is it 3-0 now? 3-0 Penguins in Game 5. Series tied 2-2. All three of those goals first period. The Goodyear blimp has not turned and gone back to Akron or wherever the Goodyear blimp
But
lives.
it's turned around. He's pointed in the opposite direction than what he once was. Might be going home early tonight.
Probably going to get a head start and go to Nashville. 3-1 to Yelich. There's a strike. Yelich just doubled twice and bounced out. He's got the terrible towel, Penguin jersey, and a Pirates cap. Little dribbler, left side, cut off. Goslin's throw in the dirt. And then Yelich is out. Martinez goes 1-2-3. There you go. And just a beautiful view, gorgeous nights, riverboats coming up the river. Downtown Pittsburgh is all lit up. Now the Pirates aren't faring well. The Marlins are up here 7-0, but the Penguins are up 3-0 in the first period. And Edinson Volquez has been brilliant again tonight. Not no-hit brilliant, but one-hit brilliant. And that hit was a bunt single by this guy. Pitches down low. Josh Harrison, or J-Hay as they call him, had a bunt single way back in the first. University of Cincinnati product.
Edinson Volquez getting back into those similar rhythms, back to the no-hitter. Times needing a strike, going to that breaking ball.
Harrison, that one is a clean base hit down into the corner, on his way to second. Stanton picks it off the turf. Harrison, big turn and a nice slide to slow himself down. I love the way he plays the game. I mean, he plays with so much energy.
It's contagious.
Plays it hard.
Yeah,
Watch him run the bases here.
Right, takes a fastball out over the plate right here. He's scooting the minute he gets out of the box right there. Good turnaround first base. He's thinking 3 all the way. That's what you want to be doing. And then realizes, yeah, I'm not going to test that arm anymore. I'll take that double.
I love that.
All good. In case you were wondering, Giancarlo Stanton one-hop the throw to Dietz from basically the warning track in right. Impressive throw once again. I know it's not an out, but still. Wow.
Polanco now. Remember, Phil Goslin is on deck. Two extra inning losses in a row for the Pirates. The bullpen is taxed, and that's why you see Clint Hurdle getting some of his regulars out of the ball game here. Taking Mercer out, taking Freese out.
As far as the team concept goes, those were the worst losses that you ever run across. It's not when you get blown out of a baseball game. It's when you have leads late and the bullpen gives them back. I was thinking about this morning as the Pirates kind of we were all getting back to town, thinking 2 late games, walked off twice.
Polanco to right. Stanton is back. Harrison tags. And Josh Harrison hustles on into third. Well, look, Miami's been there. They've experienced their share of those as well. Guns N' Roses returns to South Florida, not in this lifetime tour. Legendary band hits Marlins Park on August 8th. Enter the Jungle. Get your tickets today at marlins.com/GNR. I think I'm supposed to say that with more gusto. Enter the Jungle. There he, I thought for a moment one of the members of Guns N' Roses was
in uniform.
Or maybe one of the roadies from U2 who was here last night. Not in this ballpark, over at Heinz Field. That was as close as we could come to Axl Rose. Wow, that's pretty good too. You get the entire truck singing "Welcome to the Jungle" right now. Goslin with his first at bat of the ball game. Lifts one in the air towards the first base dugout. Moore. Not a lot of foul territory here. The count's 0-2. (7-0) Miami. Edinson Volquez. Now his last 2 starts coming into this one, 15 innings, just a run and a 0.60 ERA.
Well, National League Player of the Week honors. Edinson Volquez. Pretty obvious. I think the no-hitter really gets to what he's been doing since returning from the blister injury. Each start was getting progressively a little bit better. Like from my eyes, what I was seeing, once those walks, and occasionally, listen, I know he's going to walk a few guys every now and again. That's kind of his way. It's kind of, he's done it throughout his career. But when you look at his fastball command and that changeup, how it's been developing, along with the slider, Edinson Volquez is now in stride. Expect him to go on a pretty good run right here.
That strike 3 called. Goslin takes a called third. Let's see where it ended up.
Right there on the corner. We've seen plenty of them called tonight. Tough pitch to take when you're coming into a ball game. He's actually kind of sitting here thinking about that as manager Clint Hurdle for the Pirates. A few of his role players into the ball game, but you want to get him at bats and playing time. But Edinson Volquez is in the zone. He's been there for a little while now.
Jaso takes a strike. Marlins scored early with 3 runs in the first. Ended up with a 3-1 lead, or excuse me, trying to say 3-run lead fast. And fall all over my tongue. With a 3-run lead, and then they chipped away and finally knocked Garrett Cole out of the ball game. And Volquez, who gave up the bunt single in the first, doesn't give up another hit until a double here in the 6th. And Josh Harrison, who's at third base, has both hits. Jaso, the former Ray. Little tapper. Volquez has it on to first, and Edinson Volquez shutout is still intact. Big night for Derek Dietrich, and he's coming up in the 7th. That's right, kids. Star Wars night tonight in Pittsburgh, city of bridges, city of a lot of stuff right now. Todd Hollingsworth, Craig Minervini, Rich Waltz with you. Edinson Volquez is on again. He's given up 2 hits. Miami has a 7-0 lead. And Edinson Volquez takes a fastball inside from Jan Marinez, who's into his 3rd inning of relief. Ozuna, Real Muto, and Dietrich, all with hits in this ball game. That is an exceptionally hard ground ball on to first. Now I don't always have it dialed up, and I need to dial up StatCast to see if that My guess is like 105 on that ground ball. It usually takes about 15, 20 seconds to.
I'm a little bit behind myself. I was actually looking for it after he hit it. Two really good at bats for Ozuna right there.
JT Realmuto singled and scored in the 5th. That was the last inning for Garrett Cole. And Reyes throws a strike.
Well, the goal for the Marlins moving forward. Up 7-0 here in the 7th inning. Get as far into that Pittsburgh Pirates bullpen as you can get. Continue to work the count. Put together as best at bats as you can. The more guys you see, it's only going to help you. Remember, this is a 4-game series, so any kind of vulnerability, any kind of familiarity that you can create by seeing as many guys as possible out of that Pittsburgh Pirates bullpen, it's only going to benefit you later in this series.
Two and one. By the way, our best wishes for a speedy recovery to Marlins coach Lorenzo Bundy.
Yes.
Under the weather, hoping to rejoin the team soon. JT Realmuto into left field. We want you to know, Lorenzo, that we're all thinking about you and hopeful to see you soon.
That's right. Thoughts and prayers are with you. We miss you here in Pittsburgh.
By the way, that ground ball to short, 110 miles an hour.
When he gets it, I'm telling you, just short, quick swing. Look at that. He's maintained that approach all season long. We're talking about Marcell Ozuna. Even his outs are hard.
Derek Dietrich. Dietrich takes down low. There's mom and gold medalist Monica Puig. Dad just stepped out either because he's nervous or he was hungry. I'm not sure which. Ball and strike. She threw out the first pitch at Marlins Park last month. She and Derek had been dating. And Dietrich steps out.
Should be feeling pretty comfortable tonight. 3 hits. Great at bats.
He's driven in 3 runs, 2 doubles. Now has 10 doubles on the season. I wonder, I mean, she looks more nervous now than when she's playing a match. That went back to the screen. And it's 2-2.
Mom looks like she's been doing this for a while, and she has.
Well, he's got 3 hits, so I think Mom's relaxed.
Yeah. Certainly a good time to get greedy.
Realmuto at first. Dietrich stays alive. You kind of see this coming in the Cubs series. He had some good swings.
Sometimes, and I noticed this, didn't talk about it too much watching, Derek going through some of his struggles. Sometimes you're not seeing the ball as not as well as you'd like, and really it kind of comes down to that. But what Derek was going through was something I had an issue with.
Dietrich to right, down the line, it hangs up, and it lands just foul.
Just foul. And sometimes that issue would be this, that when you take that swing and you're at bat and you work on your swing and you work on staying in the zone, but you're not seeing the ball as well as you would like, you have to be very careful about your swing. So sometimes you'll swing at bad pitches, but you're always putting them in play. And if you've noticed over the last couple of days, Derek's done a fantastic job of fouling off pitchers' pitches, tough pitches down in the zone. Those balls aren't in play. he's been hitting the balls in play very hard. Saw it earlier in the ball game. Line drive double to right. Line drive double down the left field line. Hit a curveball the other way. Drove in another run his third at bat. But sometimes you go through that where your swing's just not perfect, but you're right on it. And it seems like every time you get penalized for swinging at a bad pitch, you seem to put it in play. Other times, you take that bad swing on maybe that pitch where you're fooled, it's a foul ball. There's a huge difference. I mean, obviously you're forfeiting at bat or it's just a strike. And he went through that for a little while.
Monica, edge of her seat. Dietrich in a right center field. And Polanco is there to make the catch. And the Pirates finally get Dietrich out for the night.
Well, still pretty good at bat.
Tyler Moore. And boys, he had a nice night as well. He's 2 for 3. Both of his hits have knocked in runs. And Moore takes away. Win by the Marlins last night gives them 8 wins in their last 11 games, 25-33. National League East teams tonight. The Nationals right now are running away from the Orioles 6-0 in DC. A beltway battle. Not much going on in Washington today. That's now the 7th inning. Phillies and Atlanta. It's 3-0 Atlanta in the bottom of the 6th. Cubs are trailing the Rockies 4-1 at Wrigley, bottom 4. Pitches in. My guess is the Penguins just scored again.
You're on your game tonight, Richie.
Very cool. One of the buildings here
it's lighting up red.
It has the red lamp on.
Right.
That is very cool. The red lamp, obviously in hockey, signifies a goal. Moore crushes one. And that's foul. And there's a building. Look at that. Light the lamp.
I keep hearing that one fan down on the field. What do you think of that, Riddle? Stanley Cup. Well, I'm probably not thinking about too much right now other than his next at bat.
Riddle is the on deck hitter. Tyler Moore back in the box. Did we just miss that before, or had they scored all their goals when it was light?
I hadn't seen it before, but if it well, maybe because it's nightfall, maybe it's because it's darker.
2-2. Pitches in.
Nice take right there by Tyler Moore.
Realmuto still at first. And a 3-2 coming to Moore. He swings and misses at a Marinas slider. 7th inning stretch in Pittsburgh, 7-0 Miami. Flashback. Jose Fernandez, Matt Harvey. It started out as a duel, and it continued with Kevin Slowey and Sean Markham. 20 innings. This in the 11th. Rob Brantley holding on. Daniel Murphy plowed him. Great throw by Marcelo Zuna. And Danny Echeverria in the center field. Yeah, Placido Polanco, come on home. Game started at 1, ended at 7:37.
Wow.
20 innings, and Miami beat the Mets 2-1 in New York. There were four quality starts by Jose, Harvey, Markham, and Slowey in that ball game. Riddle on to first in time, and an 0-for-3 night for Andrew McCutchen.
Didn't look like the game was missing hits. I have to ask. Runners in scoring position. Must have been awful in that game. Because I think there was about 28 hits between the two teams.
You know what? I think I blacked out in the 14th.
Understandably. It's probably right around dinner time.
Josh Bell. I just remember the delivery from Shake Shack in the 15th revived us and got us to the end. Josh Bell pinch hitting here. Bell homered against the Marlins in that series in Miami. Edinson Volquez with a changeup. So the story here, Miami gets 7 runs, and Edinson Volquez still has his great stuff. Nothing happening down there. Count 2-1.
Josh Bell, the 24-year-old top prospect of this Pirates team, leads this team in home runs right now, 11 of them. Switch hitter, power both sides.
And he lines it fair up into the seats. Nice play. Ground rule double. Yeah, way to go, Dad. Way to go, Dad. Cricket gives you something to smile about on Star Wars night here in Pittsburgh. Banks of the Allegheny. Ooh. Pirate Parrot in character. And Volquez, the breaking ball there for a strike. So 98 pitches in the no-hitter. And he's at 101 right now. You would guess this would be his last inning. Max Moroff, his first at bat of the ball game.
And 102 pitches now. Got into rhythm after kind of driving that pitch count up in those first 2 innings. Get things back under control.
Moroff has a couple hits in the big leagues. He is out of Winter Park, Florida. Trinity Prep in Winter Park. He was a commit to the University of Central Florida before he signed with the Pirates after going in the 16th round in 2012. He's climbed his way up the ladder. Got in 2 games last year. Switch hitter.
Equalizer, that great changeup still working for Edinson Volquez. Saw it right there. Got 104 pitches. If you're wondering, start on April 27th. Edinson Volquez threw 105 pitches. He will probably eclipse that in tonight's outing.
Miami's bullpen is active. Nick Wickren getting ready. Juan Nieves checking the charts. And a swing and a miss. And so Moroff strikes out. Jacob Stallings now.
Jacob Stallings.
And he even, you know, we really got to look at him with his catcher's mask on, but this is a good look. He looks just like his father. Second at bat for Stallings. He bounced out his first time up. University of North Carolina, where he played his college ball. Great throwing catcher. Set a single season record. Threw out 32 runners his junior year.
Edinson Volquez steps off.
Yeah, you know why?
Well, they scored again.
Light the lamp.
Holy cow.
That building is going off again in center field.
Is it 5?
I believe so. 5-0 Penguins.
5-0 Penguins.
1-1. Well, I'm sure for his dad, this is kind of mixed emotions, right? Because it's Nashville against Pittsburgh. His dad was a longtime coach at Vanderbilt.
He's going to let that go.
Now he's here in Pittsburgh.
He needs to let that go.
He had to get rid of all his Predator stuff, I would expect, very quickly.
Good fastball right there by Edinson Volquez. As you see, 110 pitches, able to get it up underneath those hands in the hitter's count. We're going to finish off his evening. And out here in the bottom of the 7th.
In the hole, Riddle on to first. Nice play. Stallings is out. And Edinson Volquez, 7 shutout innings. Absolutely terrific. All right, thank you, Jess. Edinson Volquez done for the night. 7-0 Miami on top. Volquez 7 innings, 7 shutout innings, and just 3 hits for the Pirates of Pittsburgh. JT Riddle, a swing and a miss. Josh Bell is going to stay in the ball game and occupy first base. Daniel Hudson is now on the mound for the Pirates. John Jaso and he doesn't have flowing hair because he usually has it kind of braided. And down goes Frazier.
Over center field.
Over goes Frazier to center field. Adam Frazier. Riddle takes down low. Here's Hudson. You saw him in the Diamondbacks rotation for a while.
Throwing the ball much better. See the 5.55 ERA. It's certainly indicative of the struggles he had earlier this season over his last 8 2/3 innings. He's given up a couple earned runs. Got a good arm. 95-mile-an-hour fastball, along with a slider.
Riddle rolls one to Bell, flip to Hudson. Good time to get that out. 4-game series. We're here all weekend. Vance Worley, former Pirate. Tyler Glasnow, current Pirate. And that's your matchup. Tomorrow night, 6:30, Marlins Live. Jessica Blaylock, Preston Wilson. Saturday's a 4 o'clock start. There's Worley. Tomas Telis gets a pinch hitting appearance. And Telis takes a strike.
Good to see Tomas back. He was only a while ago, came up for a quick cup of coffee, and he got one at bat. He was pretty good at bat, and he was gone. So I was kind of excited to see him get a little bit of an opportunity here this time. So he could be up for a little longer stay.
How long do you think that term has been in baseball? And that is, he came up for a cup of coffee.
I guess it depends on how fast you drink it.
It doesn't seem to translate to other sports, does it? Do you hear that in the NBA or the NFL?
No. That explains a lot. Been around for a while, though.
Everybody's a comedian in the truck. On first in time. Telis is out. And there's 2 outs. And here comes D. Gordon.
I guess what I'm trying to figure out is the actual definition of a cup of coffee.
Well,
where's the cutoff?
You arrive. Yeah, you're right. Is it, if you stay a week, is that
too much?
Is that
too much coffee?
Double tall?
That's right.
It's a double tall, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, I was only talking about a couple days because that's how short it was the first time.
See, in the age of Starbucks, I think the terminology needs to change. Back in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, and all of that. Yeah.
You're telling me I should have said that was a grande or a venti.
Right. There you go.
Okay.
Oh, 1 to Gordon. And it's in. That's one of the things that in this modern day of baseball, for you at home, anytime, which happens a lot, I say something goofy like that and wonder aloud, you have the ability to look it up faster than we do. Because
right.
I've got here's the 1-1 pitch to Gordon. You don't have a lot of time to look into your computer and dig around.
Well, you and I do this every day all season long, so we're up here doing live television for hours upon hours every day. You had one earlier.
Cup of coffee baseball.
Can you explain to me how night falls?
Well, maybe next inning. How's that? D. Gordon's out. See, I am looking it up right now. Cup of coffee is a short stretch spent in the major leagues.
There you go.
Top here at PNC Park in Pittsburgh. MLB.TV is back better than ever. Every out-of-market regular season game is live and on over 400 supported devices. Please get a free subscription to that Bat Premium as well. #1 app for live baseball. Blackout, other restrictions apply. MLB.TV for details. Changes to the scorecards. Please welcome Dustin McGowan in.
Well, he's on quite a tear right now. You see the record 3-0. That's third in the National League in wins. He's got 3 of them. 3.26 ERA. That's 9 2/3 innings. Only 1 earned run.
Adam Frazier.
Last 5 appearances for McGowan have been more than 1 inning.
That one fouled back and out of play. Marlins using this opportunity to get Talise some time at first. He's played a little bit in the minor leagues, but a catcher by trade. Christian Colon is also at second base now. And a strike. There's Colon. And Colon and Talise right in the game get to team up. How's that?
Nicely done.
All right, so on baseballreference.com, a cup of coffee is a short stretch spent in the major leagues, supposedly named that because the player has only long enough to drink a cup of coffee before he's back in the minor leagues.
It's pretty much the definition I gave you, didn't it?
The first use was much more common decades ago, before the development of the modern farm system.
Is there anything on the word venti in there?
Not yet. Well, welcome to the game, Christian Colon. There's another hot smash from Harrison, and there's 2 outs. Actually, there was a book called Cup of Coffee which was written by a guy named Rob Trucks, and he interviews 18 major league pitchers about their very, very short careers. So there you go. Like Moonlight Graham.
We didn't really get a specific cutoff, did we, really?
It looks like one game or maybe
a cup of coffee.
That's kind of the word.
Okay. I'll just have to take that and live with it.
Clock goes up. He's 0 for 3. Couple of ground ball outs to the right side. Of course, without Starling Marte, the Pirates lose a lot. Marte, a talented outfielder with a lot of dimensions to his game.
A few people that I've talked to with the Pirates talked about the loss of Marte and what it's done to this team on the whole. What he means to their everyday lineup.
Well, 2 Gold Gloves, an all-star. Last year, 36 doubles, 47 stolen bases. Pop up, infield. Riddle has it. That's a 1-2-3 inning for Dustin McGowan. Without a run, just 3 hits. Now that's a rookie. Marlins live tomorrow night, South Florida Honda dealers. Get you ready for the Fish and the Pirates. Jessica Blaylock, Preston Wilson will start it. Well, actually, Vance Worley and Tyler Glasnow will start it. That's tomorrow night at 6:30. Jose Osuna is in right field. And out of Lithuania, Dovydas Neverauskas. Neverauskas arrives with an 0-2 record and 3.58 ERA. So the Lithuanian fastball and a strike to Giancarlo Stanton.
98 miles an hour at the knees. Impressive introduction. Fastball, cutter, curveball. That's what he'll feature. Throws hard. 96 to 98 miles an hour. My goodness.
Ball in the dirt. Now, the Marlins have done damage here, but none has come from the bat of Stanton. He did walk and score in the first. Nevrauskas, the 1-2. Brian Ellington in Miami's bullpen.
Lance McCullers is no hitting Kansas City through 6.
That is a that's probably about 112, 113 back up the box.
Nice at bat right there.
Center fielder Christian Yelich.
Here is Yelich, a little Napa know-how on first pitch swing percentage. Yelich doesn't do it a whole lot. Very selective, 15.6. We just saw the guy who swung the most at first pitches. I'm gonna have to go back and figure out who that was.
Well, it's interesting. You see Jordy Mercer on there as well, and he's actually having one of his best on base percentage years.
Light the lamp.
We're up to 6 for crying out loud. That's out of come on.
Penguins with 6
I'm done.
goals.
I'm checked out. I mean, that's like what? I mean, this is hockey, right? So I mean, hockey. I mean, it's not even the same as like touchdowns in football, but yet it feels like they're up 42-0, doesn't it?
It would be a 1-run lead if the Marlins were playing the Penguins tonight.
Wow.
Right?
I guess.
AJ Ramos would be up in the pen. 114 miles an hour. Sorry, I was off by 2 on Giancarlo's line drive single.
Were you under or over? I'm sorry.
I had 112.
Yeah.
I think since I was under, I'm still in the showcase round.
Plus or minus 2 usually gets you there.
Stand at first. Yelich, who had great numbers against Garrett Cole when the night started, increased those numbers, going 2 for 3 against the starter, and both of those hits were doubles. All right, I'm still trying to find who the guy who leads either the National League or baseball in first pitch swing percentage. I want to say Yasiel Puig, but I'm not sure. Where's John Chimchuk when you need him?
Jimmy's recovering.
We'll see Chimmy on Tuesday night against
right.
Oakland.
My best to you, John. With everything. Have a little procedure done this week.
Yelich. And the 3-2 count now.
You've now stumped me. Got my mind wandering all over Major League Baseball right now, searching for this individual.
It's what happens when
right.
you haven't had an off day and you arrived in the city at 3:30 in the morning, and
I'm the Rolodex of teams in my head.
Because it was 2 or 3 series ago.
Right.
Yelich fouls that one back. And Dovidas Nevrauskas.
Well, we're in town for 4 days. We can always pay it off tomorrow.
Yelich, a ground ball. It's going to find a base hit into right. Stanton will hold at second. It's a 3-hit night for Christian Yelich.
That's good to see. Christian Yelich, nice night tonight. He'll take it. See that smile on his face. There you go.
Second baseman, Christian Colon.
Trying to hold to the right side. Got to beat that fastball to its spot. Does just enough to get it through on the right side. See right there. We've talked about it a little bit. It's maybe the game that you end up circling on the calendar, and you talk about, Yelich getting hot. But everybody else in this lineup's kind of had a 2 or 3 week stretch where they really started to sizzle, except for Yelich. Now he's been consistent. He's had good numbers, good on base percentage, he's driven in his runs. He hasn't really had that hot stretch yet.
Fastball up.
Christian Colon picking up an at bat here.
Real Muto's on deck. Ball and a strike. And 2 men on. Nobody out here in the 9th. So you've got a Lithuanian on the mound, Dovydas Neverovskis. Gifton Gope, remember, the South African who really lit up the baseball world with his story, his smile, his play. He was a big part of the Pirates winning that series in Miami. He's back down, I believe, in the minor leagues.
Lots of contributions early, but a lot of times what happens is the playing time starts to evaporate a little bit. Sometimes the younger players fall into the role where they're not seeing the field as consistently as they once did, and then their numbers start to plummet along with it. Not an easy role for young players. Most young players are used to playing every day. Even if in the minor leagues, come up here, you realize it works different. Got your starters, guys come back off the disabled list. You have bought yourself some more time on the roster. But you're probably not getting nearly as many at bats as you're used to.
Yeah, that's for young players. That's hard.
Very hard. Happens to players all the time. I think it's probably interwoven even into the cup of coffee conversation when you really think about it.
And Gope ended up playing in 28 games. And hit .222 with a .323 on base. Colon lifts it in the air. And that's an infield fly. He's back down in AAA, 20 games in AAA. His numbers this year: .218 average, .319 on base. Real Muto has hits his last 2 times up.
Continues to bump up that road average. It's if it needs any help. It's pretty amazing how he does it. Done it throughout his career when you think about it. I'm sure he'd tell you there's no rhyme or reason to it. It's not a ballpark conversation. It's just the playing the game conversation.
Well, best home numbers for the Marlins this year: Marcell Ozuna, I would think. And if you ask Ozuna why Marlins Park and not the road, he probably wouldn't have a real concrete reason. Roller out towards short. There's one. Turn is in time. Real Muto is out. Double play ends the Marlins' 9th. Bottom 9. 7-0 Fish. Baseball on Fox Sports Florida is brought to you by Southwest. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. By Jeep, get great deals on the Jeep lineup at the Jeep Spring Clearance events. And by your South Florida Honda dealers. In Pittsburgh tonight, the locals disappointed in the Pirates, thrilled with the Penguins, who last we checked were up 5-0. Oh, 6-0. So 7-0 here, 6-0 there. Miami leads Pittsburgh here. Nashville leads Pittsburgh across the river.
That no-no I was telling you about is over already. Not as quickly as I gave it to you. Renzo Kane with a triple, and Lance McCullers' efforts. It's 1-0 ball game. Be careful they don't lose that game.
Houston on top of Kansas City. Here, just another terrific night. Not a no-hitter. Only 3 hits, though, for Edinson Volquez. 7 innings. 3-hit shutout ball for him. A 1-2-3-8 for Dustin McGowan. And Brian Ellington gets back up on the horse after a rough ride in Chicago against the Cubs.
Yeah, it was a never-ending inning. Certainly wants to put that in the rearview mirror. Good inning for him right here to get back into that good rhythm that he was in. Good fastball command. That slider still developing. Very live arm.
Into right field. And a base hit for Phil Gosselin.
I couldn't help but thinking. I was reading an article this morning. Curveball usage.
Well, let's stop
okay,
there.
Sorry. Whoa.
You didn't get to bed till 4 in the morning.
I was up pretty early.
So what time did you get up? And
9:30.
And so you walk. You get out of bed and you're reading right away?
I was reading right away.
All right. What were you reading?
Well, I was reading about curveballs and curveballs in the game of baseball.
Oh, was it the Verducci article?
It was, matter of fact, in
all
part.
Right, well,
Not
good.
all of it. I was kind of perusing around.
You were in and out of sleep?
Well, no, I was up and moving around. I mean, I was functioning. It's kind of where, you know how, if anybody knows this job, it's you. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
so,
well.
I mean, this isn't hard to figure out. Right. I mean, it's first place I go. No, it's not the daily news. It's not the weather. It's not breakfast. It's like, wait, what's going on in the world of baseball? We've got to get down to it. So it's right where I went. Yes, I was reading a piece, and I couldn't. Here's Lance McCullers nearly throwing. You know, he goes 6 innings. He's got this no-hitter going. I can't help but think about it. And Volquez has been so locked in. What have we been talking about? We've been talking about great curveballs. Lance McCullers uses his curveball as just about as much as anybody in the game of baseball. And yes, he's got a great arm. He throws 95 miles an hour. I just think it's an example of where the sport is starting to go. See, Edinson, these last 3 starts have been fantastic. What have we raved about? We've talked about his fastball a little bit, but I mean, we're really talking about that great changeup in the use of the curveball.
2-1 pitch is fouled off. And McCullers, if I remember the article, is one of the guys that throws that spiked curveball.
Yeah, like a knuckle curveball. Yes.
Right.
So does Edinson Volquez. He's got a form of it himself.
Tom Kohler throws that pitch. That's becoming a more popular pitch because with that, when you dig that nail into the seam, it gives you more snap and the spin ratio.
And that's what you're looking for. It gives the appearance to a hitter that the ball is actually climbing out of the hand, almost like going over a hill or a mountain, that it's working its way up. But the action that it has in the strike zone is hard down, and that's what they're looking for.
Spin rate.
Spin rate. You got it.
Count 3-2. Foul back to the screen. Well, what have we learned tonight? We've learned that Edinson Volquez, that was no mirage. And you go back to the start he had before the no-hitter, and he's put back to back to back 3 outstanding starts and given up just 1 run in those 3 starts.
Well, the game of baseball is predictable in a lot of ways. I think I was kind of kidding you today. I said this game in a lot of ways is so predictable that it probably won't happen. And that's the great love that we all share for the game of baseball. If you think it will happen, a lot of times it won't. But tonight, you know, Garrett Cole comes into tonight's start struggling. 8 homers last 3 ball games, all sorts of issues. He struggled again tonight. No, he didn't give up a home run, but he gave up 11 hits, 5 consecutive at in the 5th inning, a bunch of doubles, and had his issues. Edinson Volquez maintained the story that's been great here over the last couple of starts. Goes out there and does it again. But oh, by the way, comes in with great numbers against the Pirates in his career.
Jose Osuna, a swing and a miss. We've also learned that those base hits and the swings from Derek Dietrich in Chicago were the sign that he's starting to come out of it. And he really came out of it in this ball game. 3 hits, 2 doubles, 3 RBIs. We learned that Tyler Moore's bats, which we saw in Chicago, look good.
Back-to-back multi-hit efforts for him now.
Yeah, a double and a single. Both hits knocked in runs. We learned that Christian Yelich still likes hitting against Garrett Cole. He was 2 for 3 against him. And now 9 for 17 in his career. 2 doubles.
Nice job. It's off the top of your head, wasn't it?
Yes. That's because I stayed in bed.
Right?
I wasn't reading at 9 in the morning. I was just wobbling a lot. Yelich is there, makes the catch, tagging at second, on his way to third.
I start to feel guilty if I sleep too long. I actually set my alarm to do it.
There's Josh Bell.
Josh Bell lined to double down the left field line. Entered the game back in that 7th inning.
Bell, the double in the 7th. Ellington has an out. Now look, he really got knocked around his last time out. And the hope here is that he's able to get through this inning without having to warm anybody else up.
No.
Because this is game 1, 4-game series. Marlins haven't had an off day for a while. They get one on Monday. There's a strike.
That's good to see right there for Ellington. Back up, out on the mound. Yeah, last one was a rough one. He's got to find that fastball command. With him, that's always going to be the issue. His slider, it's a good pitch. It certainly can get better over time. But as hard as he throws at 98 to 100 miles an hour, he puts it where he wants. He's going to get a lot of outs. And you see the hits, even going back to the outing against the Cubs. So many of those high velocity fastballs are right out over the plate.
He gave up 6 runs on 5 hits in an inning and 2/3, and that's the tenuous nature of relievers in baseball.
Right.
You could be riding a good month with a low ERA and have a hiccup. Knocked down onto first. Ellington's there to get the out. Pirates do get a run. Talise got a piece. Colon scooped it up. And the Pirates will avert a shutout, much to the delight of the fans that have stuck around.
Yeah, nice job by Talise right there. That was a rocket off the bat of Bell. Watch this. Nice job getting himself in position, able to keep it in front. Blowing over there to clean up the mess, and Ellington does a nice job getting over to first base.
Max Moroff, his second at bat. Well, one of the wrinkles of this series is that 3 of the Marlins starters were in that 2014 Pirate rotation. Volquez, Worley tomorrow, and Jeff Locke on Sunday.
We talked about this road trip and in some ways the importance. I'm not going to get into wins and losses or the record. It's not really necessary to do that quite yet. The Marlins have a long way to go to make up for that May that they had. When you look at how they played in the last homestand, you didn't want to lose that. You wanted to get back out on the road and start playing good baseball again. It's the challenge of this sport. It's not just doing it under ideal circumstances, which home would be. Get back out on the road, picking up a tough win yesterday. He started to get a little tight there at the end of the ball game, but A.J. Ramos came in, did a fantastic job sealing that win up, then bouncing back today, doing what the numbers would tell you today, getting all over Garrett Cole. Early offense, Edinson Volquez outstanding. It's a 4-game series, not going to be tough. This Pirate team plays pretty well at home.
Count 3-1, runner at second. There's your matchup tomorrow. Tyler Glasnow, Vance Worley, 6:30 Marlins Live. Jessica and Preston. 99 with the fastball. Craig Minervini will be here. I would expect before this series is up, Craig will be visiting Primanti Brothers, famous sandwich place with the famous Primanti Brothers sandwiches, where you get everything in the sandwich: coleslaw, fries, sandwich stuff.
Just hoping that Craig wears his Mr. Rogers sweater again.
Well, that's, I don't know, is that a Pittsburgh reference, or are you taking a shot at it?
No, it's a Pittsburgh reference. But we've had a conversation before the game today about
Mr. Rogers. Yeah, you're right.
He had his sweater vest on yesterday. I'm just saying it was a little chilly.
That's right. And Fred Rogers, of course, a legend here in Pittsburgh, where he got his start on public television.
I get on you when you pull out your Mr. Rogers jacket or sweater on some cool nights as well.
That would be strike 3 called. That's ball game. 7-1 Miami. Brian Ellington back up on the horse. Works the ninth. Lots of heroes in this one, starting with Edinson Volquez. 7 brilliant innings. Derek Dietrich with his 3 hits tonight. And for you kids who've stayed up late with us, Derek Dietrich will be our guest. And there's your Primanti Brothers sandwich. There's us last year. Marlins Live is next.